You are listening to the SDSU podcast, presented by the East Village Times, with your host, Andre Hagverdian. Welcome, listeners, back to another episode of the SDSU podcast. Thank you guys for joining us again on another Aztec victory in football. I'm Andre Hagverdian, joined by Bryant Thursby. What's going on, Bryant?
It's going great. We're over here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah, Bryant is out in Vegas covering the Players Era tournament. Obviously, San Diego State is playing. We don't need to get into basketball in this episode. We'll have a future episode after the Players Era tournament is over, but obviously San Diego State did not fare well in game one, and they look to bounce back as Bryant is awaiting that one in the press conference room or one of the media rooms, wherever he is. So yeah, make sure you're following him for all the latest on that. But football won another game, 9-2. They beat San Jose State 25-3. I think that was the first time in San Diego State Division One history that they won a game by a score of 25-3. It is a little funky score, but it's a win regardless. A lot more of the same defense, special teams, and just enough offense to have more points than the other team, or at least feel comfortable. What'd you make of the game? You were there with me in the press box. What'd you make of the game?
Kind of watching the game, it was to the score line, it was a dominant San Diego State win, but to me in the press box watching the game, even rewatching it back a little bit over the weekend, just it didn't really feel that dominant of an Aztec victory. I feel like the score is not as telling as how the game went. I feel like San Jose State actually did a pretty solid job getting into San Diego State territory and getting into
Mm.
solid areas. They just couldn't convert special teams. They couldn't convert on third down, which is props to San Diego State's bend don't break defense that they love to play. But San Jose State easily could have scored 15 points and made it a much more respectable score going up against San Diego State. And I felt the offense wasn't really that impressive either. The run game was pretty solid, just little by little, not any chunk plays, but like 3 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, just little runs here and there to just kind of beat San Jose State down, which they've done all year long. So not too impressive of a win, but a win's a win.
Lucky Sutton had 20 carries for 79 yards, almost 4 yards a carry. Christian Washington had 70 on 10, which is a much better average, seven, but he got most of that on the final drive where they scored a touchdown. I think he had 45 of his 70 yards on that last drive. Opened up some holes there, and maybe San Jose State defense had gotten worn down. But yeah, it was not a dominant effort. I agree with you, and we were talking about this during the game. San Jose State was able to move the ball even when their backup came in, maybe even when the backup came in, because he rushed for 75 yards himself, and he was fast, even though he was a true freshman. He looked fairly, I want to say, comfortable out there, which is strange for someone against going up against a good defense. But he did present some problems there. But yeah, they just could not get on the scoreboard. They didn't miss two kicks. Obviously one of them was early. Um, and then I think they missed another one in the second half. Those are obviously only 6 points, but it can make a bigger difference. It can get you within one score or whatever. Could change the complexion of the game. Um, Before we talk about the defense, we can't not talk about more about the offense, Jaden Denegal, the passing game. Obviously Jordan Napier, this is the first game he missed. Um, They did pass the ball more, at least six more attempts than they did against Boise. Um, 81 yards, better than 17 yards, but that's still not a recipe to beat tougher opponents passing for less than 100 yards. What do you think? Can this be fixed this late in the season, or is this basically just keep doing what you're doing and hope the defense and special teams holds up and the running game?
Yeah, I don't think this passing game can be fixed
Yeah.
completely. Honestly, this passing offense just you lose key weapons like Bostic and Napier, you lose those guys, and the offense looks completely dwindled down to, all right, we even saw them getting twin back formation, getting it. This passing game can't really be fixed. I mean, I don't want to say it's a lack of creativity. I don't want to say it's that, but just I don't think Donegal's been performing as well as most people probably expected him to perform coming into the season. Obviously, not high expectations, but
Yeah.
he's missing easy throws. Like, sure, San Diego State had about 3 to 4 drops, but 3 of those drops were because Donegal placed the ball poorly. Yeah, it hits the receiver's hands and the receiver's forced to catch it, but when you throw it 2, 3 feet above the ground and the receiver has to try and jump up super high to try and make a catch, or you throw it about a foot behind the receiver, so he has to try and adjust on a slant route. Passing game can't really get fixed unless Jaden Danigal can get his accuracy down. You just hope that the running game and you're able to just go 3 yards, 4 yards every run and just pound the rock on other defenses to try and control the tempo of the game.
Yeah, obviously Nathan Acevedo's drop was not that was a good it wasn't the best throw. He Acevedo definitely had to hold up when you would have liked to have seen Denegal lead him into the end zone so that he could have kind of smoothly caught that instead of held up and thought about the catch a little bit more. But that still should have been a 53-yard touchdown. So that makes the numbers look a little bit better if caught. But that's still, it seems like this passing game is bubble screens that haven't been working lately, and then deep passes. And you hope on a bubble screen you break one. And obviously Jordan Napier, you have a better chance with Napier breaking one than some of the other guys. And then the deep pass, Donovan Brown caught a 52-yarder, I believe, at the second half, or maybe it was late first half, where he might have even pushed off. And we talked about this. He does have a propensity to put his, push a little bit as these deep balls are coming. Um, he's been fortunate to only be called, I believe, once this season on it. But it seems like this off passing offense is hope you get some deep passes to complement the running game because there's absolutely no intermediate passing game on even on the outside or down the middle. Um, so yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think it's something that could be fixed this year. I think it's going to take an overhaul in the off season, whether that's Denegal still coming back and being the starter, or if it's bringing in competition, bringing in better wide receivers because you might lose some of these guys. Um, Jalen Hawkins, he was a true freshman that we saw taking he got a start, which was pretty shocking. Um, Got 31 snaps. He only had 2 catches for 2 yards, which were both short bubble screens. But he did have an 11-yard run off of jet sweep, which is something Jordan Napier was getting a lot of. So he can help fill that role, but I don't think you can count on him to duplicate Jordan Napier in full. We haven't really seen much of seeing Freeney and McClure, who were guys we thought would step up this year. That tells me the coaching staff isn't seeing what they want to see from those guys. I know a lot of fans are upset about those two not getting on the field because they are local guys. At least seeing Freeney play at Carlsbad, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think if they were doing what they needed to be doing or showing in practice, they would be out there, especially with the injuries. Do you see that any differently?
Yeah, I've seen the outrage about McClure, especially, wondering why he's not out there. 4-star recruit, goes to UCLA, transfers, wondering why he's not out there. And it's very clear that it's either something going on behind the scenes or he is not practicing well, and Coach Sean Lewis and the other coaches are just not seeing what they want to see from him. And he's
Yeah.
definitely somebody that had the skill set in high school and definitely a skill set San Diego State could use. So he must not be showing the coaches anything. And regarding the intermediate like passing game that you mentioned, I don't know if it's something that Sean Lewis trusts Denegal to do. Because typically when offensive coordinators call plays, people are like, oh, this offensive coordinator is bad. He's not broadening his horizons or
Yeah.
broadening the playbook. Well, sometimes you only call what you think your players can do. And
Yeah,
to me, it seems like Sean Lewis does not think that Jaden Danical can throw intermediately over the middle.
yeah,
He had opportunities against San Jose State and he missed them. I believe it was Seth Adams came wide open on a dig route about 10, 11 yards up the field, but instead of just hitting the dig route that's wide open because the safeties were so worried about the deep post by Donovan Brown, he just dumped it off to Lucky Sutton instead of just sitting in the pocket and just making a throw over the middle. So I don't know if it's Sean Lewis doesn't trust Dayton Denegal in those intermediate routes, or if Sean Lewis thinks these are the better play calls to go with. And either way, either Denegal needs to get better throwing the intermediate route, or Sean Lewis needs to trust in throwing the intermediate and tell Jaden Denegal this offense is going to succeed and get to the championship game, win the championship game, and even get a bowl win. It's going to
yeah.
be on the backs of you. We love our running game. We're going to trust Lucky Sutton and our other backs, but this offense needs to succeed with you at the helm and not just trusting the running backs in the running game.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Lewis's job is to win games, and I agree with you. There's probably not a lot of trust in the passing game. And when you see your defense and your special teams kind of dictating games and you have a lead, it's easy to just say, we're going to play as conservative as possible. Don't turn the ball over. Run the ball. Try to get our first downs. Try to get some points. But it's not that bad of a deal if you have Hunter Green punting 50 yards and and having them have to go a full field. But eventually, maybe this Friday against New Mexico, they fall behind by 10 points, 14 points. And then suddenly you have to rely on your passing game, which you haven't shown a lot of confidence in. You haven't seen the success. That's when I think San Diego State's going to be in big trouble. And we've seen the two times they've fallen behind on the road this year by like 10 points or more, things have spiraled. You know, they've gone downhill, Washington State and Hawaii. Every other game they've won, they pretty much had a lead and kept the lead and kind of coasted. Northern Illinois obviously was a 3-point lead, but every other game they've won, all I think the 8 other wins they've won by at least 10 points, and some of them more than 20, right? When things are going well and the scoreboard is in your favor, it's easy to play conservative and to just basically stay on the ball, hold the ball in a sense. But when you fall behind and you don't have the trust or the faith in the passing game, that's when you need it and you're going to struggle. And I think hopefully they get leads early against New Mexico in the Mountain West Championship game if they are lucky to, be in that game. But yeah, I think it's a huge concern what happens when you fall behind and you need to pass the ball to get back in it. So we'll see. I mean, they did finish undefeated at home, 6-0 for the first time since 1996. Let's talk about defense. Chris Johnson had quite a second half. Was named, I think, the Senior Bowl Defensive Player of the Week. The defense only gave up 3 points. They sacked um, San Jose State 4 times. They were only giving up zero point 0.9 sacks per game coming in to that one. Even though they passed a lot, the fact that they were not giving up more than a sack a game, I think, was impressive. But let's talk about Chris Johnson and how he's elevated his game this season because he was pretty good last year, but he's now, I mean, superstar.
Yeah, Chris Johnson has looked mighty impressive. I thought he was good last year. And then he comes into this year and he just pretty much told me he thought I was good last year. I'm even better. He improved. He did a really good job this year working on his speed, being able to catch up to defenders when he gets beat, because he's always been a natural kind of press guy whenever he faced really good receivers and stuff like that and getting hands on. He's always been really natural and really good at that. But he never really had the recovery at times where he would get beat deep and he wouldn't be able to recover unless the ball was severely underthrown. And he showed this year that he can recover and, you know, cover up space and be able to gain ground, doing a really good job in leverage. They haven't asked him to do any short zone stuff too often because typically this defense relies on the quarters, cover three. Very rarely do they go in the cover two. But when he's been able to be in that kind of flat area, he's shown a willingness to tackle. And has amazing ball skills. I mean, his adjustment to that throw, I know he said in the post game that he was disappointed in himself even after the interception because he got beat by 3 steps and he had to
Yeah.
recover. But being able to recover and make a play like that, play through the receiver's hands and not only strip it, but just take it from him and get the interception. He's a first round, second round NFL draft pick.
Yeah, there's a lot of mock drafts having him in the second round right now. Um, Obviously, there's a lot to dictate that. This is only November. The draft is in April. There's going to be a Senior Bowl practices. There's going to be pro day. There's going to be the combine. Um, but yeah, he's definitely opened up eyes nationally with the recognition he's got, his PFF grades, his highlight reels. I thought his play on Scooter on the 4th and 1 on the sideline was the most impressive play he made. The fact that he got there and got Scooter, who's All-American second team midseason, to not be able to get that first down, I thought was impressive. And it shows that he's not just a cover a receiver kind of guy. He can defend the run, he can tackle. I thought it was impressive. He came off a corner blitz and got a sack, which is nice too. I'm sure scouts love kind of his skill set there. Ryan Henderson, he was also a guy. He had 2 sacks out of the 4. He's a guy that's grown every year, but it seems like at least, and even he's grown since the beginning of the season and becoming kind of one of those guys that can come off the edge and get sacks. Trey White, obviously, we know about. August Salvati got some sacks early in the season, but Ryan Henderson definitely has come into his own. What did you see from him?
Ryan Henderson is definitely a speed guy. He's a speed rusher. And going up against San Jose State, didn't really see a lot of August Salvati
Hmm.
this past week. And I think the reasoning for that is, August Salvati is a good power, get into the offensive lineman's body, get a little power punch guy, solid club rip, couple good moves in there. Ryan Henderson, that he's a speed dude.
Yeah.
And San Jose State had super slow tackles as we were talking to each other in the press box. So, that left tackle was extremely slow-footed.
Hmm.
And Ryan Henderson could just beat him off the edge anytime he wanted. And whenever San Jose State wasn't able to get the quick, easy throws, Henderson had 2.5 seconds to get to the quarterback, and he just beat that tackle quickly off the line of scrimmage. Very good speed. Would like to see a little bit more power from him. He shows it at times, but would like to see a little bit more power coming from him going into next year and next season. Obviously, that's something you got to develop in the off season, do some weight training. But he's done a really good job as a speed rusher that I've been impressed with.
Yeah. It was also senior night. I know we talked about that last week, but 22 seniors got recognized pregame. Um, Anyone I mean, I know we talked about some of the bigger names. Anyone on that list that stands out to you that obviously Chris Johnson was one of them. We know that, but anyone um, stood out to you in terms of senior and the careers that they've had as Aztecs?
Short career, but Mr. Williams has
Yeah.
made a good impact on this defense, especially with Tano being out with an injury, being out for the year. He's made a really good impact. Obviously, Seth Adams, really good blocking tight end, done a really good job for San Diego State, creating holes, doing a good job in duo combo blocks, climbing to the second level. Obviously, Gabriel Palencia, one of the better kickers in all of college football, one of the
Mhm.
more accurate kickers in all of college football. Just a lot of seniors to recognize, a lot of guys that have made it an effort and have contributed to the San Diego State team, whether that's been in practice or been on the field. But Mr. Williams, to me, is a guy that's kind of stepped up and when San Diego State's defense has needed it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think all those new guys who have only really been here for a year or two have made an impact, especially when you look at how the team has gotten so much better from 3 wins to 9 to potentially 10, beating New Mexico. Um, but the offensive linemen, Ross and Christian Jones, people who have been here for 5, 6 years, have seen kind of the struggles of the last few years. They've moved positions, they've been benched, they've had injuries, they've come back, and I think now they've been a big part of one of the strengths of the team this year. So I really like them. And then Xavier Hamlet, we can't not talk about him, even though he hasn't really had the impact on the field, but what he does off the field with giving back to the community, the homeless community downtown and all the nonprofit stuff that he has been doing and wants to keep doing. Shout out to him for definitely contributing to the San Diego community. I mean, he is a local guy, so he's been doing it even before San Diego State, but the 3 years he's been at State and he got a scholarship for his final year, so shout out to him on that. We did find out today that Rob Arich got nominated for a Broyles Award, which is the award for the best assistant coach in the country. I think he's one of 63. Let me double check that.
It's either 60 or 63.
One of 63 nominees. And this year, for the first time, fans can actually be a part of the voting for that. So if you're listening out there and want to go vote for Rob Arich, you can on the Broyles Award website. I think San Diego State's press release or tweet or social media post has might have a link to that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd be shocked if he wasn't on that list, and I would be surprised if he doesn't get cut down to like a semifinalist. Because I mean, just look at San Diego State's defensive ranks and the difference from last year. Because I think last year they were in the 90s. Some of them they were in the bottom third of defensive rankings. Like they were not good defensively last year. And the just the change, especially when you factor in so many of the same players are on the defense this year. It's not like they brought in a brand new defense in the transfer portal. Like all of these guys are pretty much holdovers from last year, except for maybe a couple guys. Mr. Williams, you mentioned, obviously he was a backup to Tano, and now he's a starter. Um, Dwayne McDougal is another new guy who's actually played under Arich at Idaho, as I believe. But it's really the same defense, the same players, and to have that change in how well you played from last year to this year, I think deserves recognition, and hopefully he will get down selected.
Yeah, I definitely give Rob Art some props because I know early on in the season after the Washington State game, I kind of went in on him and Lewis a little bit, and he's kind of shut me up ever since that Washington State game and said, "Well, it was just a one bad game. This defense is a lot better. Obviously, Hawaii happened and stuff like that, but wwithout Chris Johnson, you have
Yeah,
Chris Johnson in that Hawaii game. Not saying San Diego State wins the game, but don't think Hawaii puts up 30, was it 36 points?
I think 38-6.
38 points. I don't think Hawaii puts up 38 if Chris Johnson's playing in that game because we saw Chris Johnson, I believe, go on the field for one snap and then he came off. Clearly didn't want to play in the rain and everything and was still feeling the injury a little bit. But Rob Arich just, he's been great. He's been great this year.
Yeah,
Um, Great assistant coach. I know he has been mentioned on a list of candidates for the Cal job, the Cal head coaching job vacancy that is currently opened up right now. I know he has been mentioned for that vacancy. Don't know where he is along that line in terms of leading that list and leading as a leading finalist, but he has been mentioned. He's done a great job, but it also perks to him and the defense. Obviously, you mentioned that it's pretty much the same defense from last year. You know,
yeah.
getting that year under their belt from a bad year last year, just getting that, being able to play together and trust each other, and just doing their assignments. That's what they've been doing all year, and it's been working. And they have a pretty tough task coming up this week too.
Yeah, the one other stat I wanted to highlight, penalties. You know, it was a big problem last year for the team. And this season kind of started off badly or poorly in penalties too, but they're now under, I think they're under 6 penalties a game now, based on some, they only had, I believe, two for 20 yards, no, three for 30 against San Jose State. I think they were around the same against Boise. So now I think they're top 50 in penalties, where they were like one at the bottom at the beginning of the season. So I think you got to give credit to Sean Lewis and the staff and the players for improving that as the year has gone on. Because The one thing you could say that San Diego State does not do is beat themselves, right? Penalties and turnovers they've been really good at. Outside of the Hawaii game where they had 4 turnovers, I mean, they've been really good with turnovers all season. None of the running backs have a fumble. I think the only fumble that they have was I want to say it was Bert Emanuel in a handoff. Um,
Yeah, Bert Emanuel fumbled a handoff earlier
against
in the
yeah,
year.
and so I mean they've been none of the running backs have a fumble. I think the amount of carries Lucky Sutton has had this year without a fumble, that's super impressive. And I don't want to say that to jinx him because there's still some games to play, but he and Caldwell and Christian Washington, who have also gotten kind of the backup load, they've been really good. So kudos to them for that aspect of discipline on a football field.
Yeah, great
What
kudos to them.
what do you so you mentioned New Mexico on the road, Black Friday, 12:30 game. I remember the first season I covered San Diego State. They played a 9 a.m. Black Friday game against Boise in Carson, which they won, which put them to host the conference championship game. Um, this one is on the road, obviously, and it's at 12:30, but tough matchup. But they hold their own destiny to host the championship game on December 5th at Snapdragon. How do you see this one playing out?
Uh, Not good.
Yeah.
Uh, this offense has not looked that good to me. San Diego State's offense. New Mexico has been a good defense. New Mexico has played with pretty much every single team they played this year. Like they opened up the season against Michigan and it ended up being a 14-point loss. But there was a point in there where it was a 10-point game and New Mexico was in it. So New Mexico is a good team. They have a good defense. They have a good staff over there. They have a solid offense. They use a couple running backs. The quarterback's able to run a little bit too. Now, in terms of passing, they use two main weapons. Their number one receiver and their number one tight end. Those are the two main weapons passing the ball. Obviously, there's other weapons that they get involved, but those are the two ones that they mainly get involved are their number one receiver and number one tight end. Um, I I do not think this is going to go well for San Diego State. I do think New Mexico is going to pull out of this one with a win. And I think it's going to be on the backs of New Mexico's defense against San Diego State's offense. So I do think San Diego State's defense is going to do a pretty solid job of containing New Mexico's offense, but I just don't see a world where San Diego State's offense is able to put up more than 13 points.
Yeah, New Mexico has the 21st best rush defense in the country. San Diego State has a 16th, but I'm interested to see how the offensive line controls the line of scrimmage and if Lucky Sutton and those guys can get it going because I agree. As we talked about earlier, I don't see the passing game flipping a switch and becoming a 250-yard passing team unless they get some deep balls that end up in the hands of a Donovan Brown or something. But it's a lot to ask for to do that multiple times in a game. So yeah, it is a struggle. It could be a struggle. Um, they need to, they don't have to win this game to play in the championship game, but then it becomes up to tiebreakers and computer rankings, and those kind of take it out of your hands. There is a decent chance that they could still make it with the rankings, and possibly play on the road. Maybe even go back and play New Mexico again if they do lose to New Mexico, because that'll propel New Mexico into a pretty good standing. But we don't know. I mean, there's these four rankings that get used, right? And the one of the four is proprietary and it's not made public. So we have no idea where the rankings are for the all those teams in question on that fourth one. So we can give you the average of the other three, but without knowing the fourth, you really don't know. But San Diego State is winning, is ahead. I think they're at 42.33 average on the other three. UNLV's like 47, and then Boise, and then New Mexico. So I mean, but New Mexico beats San Diego State, that could flip quickly. But all that to say, they really want to win this game to not leave it up to rankings and um, tiebreakers, and obviously they want to host the game. But you got Boise State that's going to Utah State. That's a tough game for them. Utah State is still in the mix. Um, UNLV gets Nevada on the road, so they're going into Reno in a Nevada, battle for Nevada, but they should win that game. Nevada's won two in a row now, so they may be, playing well. Fresno State, I believe, plays San Jose State, who, is struggling, obviously, as we know. Hawaii, I think, plays Wyoming. They're still in the mix. Like, but you could potentially get if San Diego State beats New Mexico, you could potentially get a six-way tie for second place if all those teams lose. That would be nuts. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, have you dug into those rankings or scenarios potentially if San Diego State does lose and what their chances would be? Because it's a mess right now to try to figure all that out.
Yeah, I've dug into the scenarios. I've looked at the rankings. Everything I've looked at, according to the Mountain West tiebreaker page, it wouldn't go down to tiebreakers between teams because all teams in the tiebreaker would have to have played each
Yeah.
other
Mm,
um, to include the tiebreaker. So, assuming UNLV beats Nevada, which they are heavily favored to do so, assuming UNLV beats Nevada, that automatically takes that tiebreaker out of the equation because San Diego State and UNLV have not played each other.
yep.
So, as far as I am concerned, in how if I'm understanding the tiebreaker rules correctly, it would not go through the first phase of tiebreakers with three or more teams due to the fact that San Diego State and UNLV have not played each other. And
Yeah.
now it goes down to computer rankings and computer metrics. Obviously, you spoke about how San Diego State is currently leading the average in the first three because we do not know what the fourth one is because the fourth one's behind a paywall and something that the public cannot see.
Hmm.
Public is unable to see it, and it's something that the Mountain West looks at themselves. If I had to guess just what that metric says, I would say San Diego State is probably leading in three of the four in the metrics category. So San Diego State should be safe depending on how the New Mexico game goes. If the New Mexico game is close, the metrics will stay around the same. The strength of record will go down a little bit for San Diego State, but the metrics will stay around the same area.
Yeah.
So highly likely that San Diego State's still able and still makes the Mountain West Championship game. But if you're San Diego State, you don't want to leave it up to chance. You control your own destiny and you want to go into Albuquerque and dominate a New Mexico team that has played with everybody.
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, they played a funky schedule this year. They played on a Thursday, they played on Friday, they played on the road at 12:30 on the East Coast. I don't think necessarily the time is going to factor into this, but you'll see. I mean, Albuquerque is also at altitude. Um, a lot of different factors that you could talk about, but honestly, when you get on the field, the better team should win. Um, yeah. I think you do not want to leave it up to computer rankings, that's for sure. And I don't even think they're thinking about that, right? Their mindset as football players and as coaches are, we're going to win. We're not even thinking about when we're going to lose or if we're going to lose. Um, if Boise State wins, they beat Utah State and San Diego State beats New Mexico. We get a rematch, Boise State at San Diego State for the championship. If San Diego State wins, Boise loses to Utah State and UNLV beats Nevada, then UNLV is in second place by themselves and they come to San Diego State for the championship game. Those are the simplest scenarios that don't involve computer rankings at all. So that I think that might be the easiest way to kind of explain it to listeners is computer rank in that scenario computer rankings do not matter. But then when you get into a situation where Utah State or Boise State and UNLV both lose, then computer rankings come into play, and then San Diego State also loses. So yeah, we'll all see. We'll see. And honestly, I don't think we'll know Right. If San Diego State and Boise State win on Friday, then the Saturday games don't matter. But they do matter, I don't know if when the Mountain West will actually release, if it does come out to computer rankings, who made it. That might we might have to wait till Sunday morning for the Mountain West to release the who the winner is when the updated rankings come out from all those four rankings. I don't know. I don't remember the timing of that, but we could potentially have to wait until Sunday morning to find out who's playing in the game and where.
Yeah, San Diego State and Boise State do play on Black Friday. So if you are a San Diego State fan, you are now, some of you are going to puke by saying this. You have to root for Utah State.
Yeah.
Some of you are going to puke by hearing me say that, but you are going to have to root for Utah State to take Boise State out of that tiebreaker consideration. Um, and in turn root against UNLV, which that's easy for a lot of people that are San Diego State fans to root against UNLV. But obviously, you don't want to have to turn your priorities towards rooting against other schools. You want San Diego State to take care of business in Albuquerque. And as you mentioned, the altitude. Hopefully, Sean Lewis has been contacting Coach Dutcher about that
Mhm.
beet juice that they use when they go to altitude to play Utah State. When they went to altitude to go play BYU and all these places.
Yeah.
So hopefully, the football players are having a little bit of beet juice this week, getting ready for that altitude.
Well, yeah, and on the flip side, Boise State is rooting for San Diego State to win because if San Diego State and Boise State win, then they play each other, right? But if Boise State wins, but San Diego State loses, then that's a scenario where we can get into a four-way tiebreaker that goes to computer rankings, and Boise State could be left out. So, Boise fans actually do want San Diego State to win this game because that's their best chance of playing in the game, in the championship game. So probably feels the same way for Boise fans thinking that way, where we want to root for San Diego State to win, but they want to get in the game, right? That's their best way is by them winning and San Diego State winning. That guarantees it for them. So yeah, I think we beat it to death. We'll let the football games play out and see where the teams fall because it's can make your head spin by thinking about this. Any last words before we close this out?
No last words at all. Gonna be a fun Friday. Gonna be a fun week of just college sports, not even football, basketball too.
Yeah,
If you're a basketball fan, this is feast week. So
yeah,
it's a crazy week. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, happy holidays, safe travels.
absolutely. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy holidays. Thank you guys for listening. As always, we appreciate you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this. And we'll talk to you guys next time. You are listening to the SDSU podcast presented by the East Village Times with your host, Andre Hackverdian.